Hey, everyone out there. It is Lamar Woods back again for another live. In today's live, in today's live on the Biz Dev Show with Lamar Woods, we are going to go over the new entrepreneurs tech starter kit, right? As an aspiring entrepreneur, as a young entrepreneur, there are a few things that you need to figure out. And with entrepreneurship being as simple as it is to get into today, because let me tell you guys, it's simpler than it ever has been. For me to actually create a piece of content has it's become cheaper and simpler than it ever has been. In order for me to disseminate that to thousands of people around the globe, it would have cost thousands. I'm sure there was a time where it would have cost millions of dollars to disseminate a video like this around the globe. And so, entrepreneurship has become far more simple than it ever has been before, right? And in order to take advantage of how easy it is today, you need to be taking advantage of the technology that is available today, right? It used to be a time when you could not lift something as heavy as a car off the ground. But once new technology came into play, we then had something called a jack. And you could use the jack to lift the car off the ground. People think it's simple today. But if you were a caveman, lifting up something that heavy would have been impossible. It would have made no sense. And in the same way, entrepreneurship or certain aspects of entrepreneurship have become far simpler than they ever have been before. Because I want to tell you that just because you happen to get a website, right? Just because you happen to get an app doesn't mean you are a successful entrepreneur. Literally anybody today out there can create an Instagram account or create a website and call themselves an entrepreneur and just put their hands up and say, I've made it. But you haven't, right? It takes a lot more than that. And so what you do need to do is you need to take advantage of all the opportunities that are out there. You need to grab all that low-hanging fruit because you can't reach for the high fruit yet. You're so new. You're so young. Your legs are so feeble at this point in the game, right? That you need to take the easy wins that you can get and use those easy wins to create some momentum. After having that momentum, you can then go on and do more advanced things, right? But everybody needs to start with a base. Everybody needs to be able to stand up so that they can then walk, run, jump, fly forward in whatever it is they want to do, right? So the tech starter kit is essentially going to be a list of recommendations that I go through for the aspiring entrepreneur or for the entrepreneur who's new but hasn't quite locked down all of their processes yet. Because, as a new entrepreneur, as an entrepreneur in general, your success is going to be dependent on a few things. Your contacts, your systems, and your team are probably the top three that you're going to go through. The top three things that are going to make or break who you are is your contacts. How many people do you know, and what types of things are these people doing? What sort of network do these people have? If you can make, let's say that you want to start a lawn business. You want to cut yards, right? How many homeowners do you know? If all of your friends are renting at a hotel, nobody's going to buy your service, right? If you don't happen to know anyone who owns any real estate, you're going to have a hard time. You're going to have to spend a lot of legwork finding clients. What I'm saying? There's just certain aspects that it comes down to, right? When it comes to the team, you want to make sure that you've got people who can actually deliver, right? You need to be able to trust that while you're making things happen for the business, you're watching these lives, you're improving your marketing, you're improving your sales. You need to be able to have a team that can handle things on the back end for when things get a little bit too big for what you can handle yourself, right? and your systems. And this is where the tech piece comes in. I can't automatically throw a team at you. I can send you to a piece of software that will make your team work a bit better for sure. And I can take you to a piece of software that will help you scale your team as you start to grow. But I can't just throw 3 co-founders at you. That's not the way this works. I can't just throw 3 free employees at you. And in the same breath, I cannot throw 3 major clients at you. I can't give you the names of 6 homeowners who live in your local area that will want to do business with you. I can't do that for you. But what I can do is I can help you out with some systems, the systems that you need to get started as an aspiring entrepreneur, as a new or young entrepreneur, as some might say. Age is not a part of this, but how long you've been in business is. So let's talk about some different systems now that we've already gone over the fact that you will need some contacts. Yeah. And you will need to consistently be searching for those contacts, and you will need a team. You will need to consistently be trying to enroll people in your vision. In the beginning, people won't even trust you, but as you start to build, more people trust you, and the more trust you have from other people, the easier it is for the next person to trust you. So just keep working on these things in tandem, and you guys will get there. But something that makes it all work, even if you had some contacts and you had some team, right? You had a team that would be able to help you fulfill some things. You need systems to make it all work, right? If a contact that you know says, hey, I've got 5 yards because I own 5 different properties. Can you handle it? And you say yes, right? And you got 3 people who can cut yards, right? But you don't actually send them the information on where those yards are. You don't actually collect the information. You don't collect the information from the business owner or from this real estate owner, right? If you don't have the systems to collect, manage, and disseminate data, then you are dead in the water. Systems could be argued. It could be argued that systems are the most important aspect of the 3, but I'll leave that for someone who's been in business longer than I. All I know is that all 3 are important, right? So, systems. There are some systems that you just need experience to understand and to implement. It's a fact. There is no substitute for experience, and so tech, I want you to just know, tech is not going to substitute for experience, right? But what it can do is give you this foothold on exactly what you need to just get started, right? And half the battle is just being in the race, right? Entrepreneurship is difficult, and most people say that they can't be entrepreneurs because of how difficult it is. The people who get in the game and stay in the game long term are the people who will really succeed. So don't worry about whether or not you know what you're doing. Worry about whether or not you're doing what you say you're doing. Worry about whether or not you're growing, you're improving, you're trying. Are you showing up? Are you showing up every day, or are you showing up once every other day, once a week, right? Worry about these things, right? So let's get into systems, because with the proper systems, you will have what you need to get started, and then it'll be up to you to stay in the game, right? It's a game of attrition. Entrepreneurship is a game of attrition. There will be 50 people at any moment trying to run the same business that you're running. But if you can stay in the business for 3 years, half of that competition will be gone. Half of that competition will be dead, and they'll be on their couch talking about how entrepreneurship is impossible. If you can stay for another 3 years beyond that, then you can make it to the top, right? You can make it to the top in 30%, let's say. But in order to really break the bar, in order to really shine, what you're going to have to do is you're going to need to go farther. Not only will you need to stay in the game, but you'll have to apply some strategy, which you will start to learn, which you will start to pick up over the years, right? It's not like you're going through this and you're not learning anything and you're not picking up anything. You're going to be picking up team. You're going to be picking up experience. You're going to be picking up contacts, all of these things, and you'll be improving your systems as you go along. So, with no further ado, let's talk about some systems that the beginning entrepreneur will need. Let's talk about some systems for the aspiring entrepreneurs, right? So, I'm going to break this into about 3 different sections, right? These 3 different sections are tailor-made for a specific type of entrepreneur because not everybody needs to focus on the same systems, right? Not everybody needs the same technology. And I do believe that there are plenty of commonalities within what people need to do today. It's almost ubiquitous that every business needs a website. You know, it's almost a non-starter. But for some businesses over others, you could totally start a business without a website and not even worry about it. If you're plumbing, right? What is the probability that your customer is going to look up your website to get information on how reputable you are? Not really that much, right? There are some other reasons why you'd want a website, and I'll get into that a little bit later in the live here. But when your customer is trying to validate who you are, they'll probably just look for your name online, and you can show up quite easily using a Facebook page, right? Using a Facebook page, a LinkedIn page, these different easy peasy lemon squeezy resources are what you could use to really fulfill that. So let's talk about three different groups of people and what the technology stack would be for these folks. We're going to talk about personalities first. So if you're a personality, let's say that you're trying to do things like what I'm doing. You want to be a YouTuber. You want to be a podcaster. You want to be a news anchor, right? Anything of this sort, you're going to need a few different things. And essentially, you want to be able to make money. And so the systems to show up in the space are different from the systems and the technology that you need to actually be successful in the space or to have any purpose in the space. Now, what do I mean by all this? Let me go ahead and get right into it. So, if you are a podcaster, YouTuber, anything of that sort, you do lives, you do jam sessions, even you could even consider a musician this to a certain extent. You are going to need, the first piece of tech that you're going to need is an eyeball gatherer. You're going to need to use some piece of technology that's going to get you the eyeballs on what you need, because what you have, what your commodity is, what people are buying from you is time. If you are a podcaster and you're making money, let's think about Joe Rogan for a second. Joe Rogan is selling time and attention to the people who come and advertise on his podcast. When Spotify made Joe Rogan the highest paid content creator in the world, what they were buying was not Joe. They weren't buying his bald head. They were not buying his experience in MMA, which is what he did before. They were not buying his joints that he was blazing up with Elon Musk. What they were buying was attention. They were buying the time that people spent with him. So in order for you to be successful in this venture, let's say that you want to be a media personality of some sort, first thing you're going to need is a piece of tech that will disseminate your message, that will capture the time of other people. They will disseminate your message and let people self-select how much time they want to spend with you and your brand, right? And this could be around anything. You could be talking about anything from Smurfs to paper towels to how to cut grass, right? Any of these things could make money. Any of these things could gather attention. The question is, how are you getting the word out around what you do? So, the first thing you're going to need is a piece of tech that's going to disseminate your information. These are things like YouTube. These are things like Spotify. These are things like LinkedIn, Instagram, social media, right? Social media is really the first thing that you would need, right? As a person who's going to become a personality, you need a way to introduce people to your personality, right? You need exactly what you're looking at right now, right? You need a way for people to go from I have never heard of you before to oh wow, I really like this Lamar guy. He really understands the tech game, right? He really understands what is needed in the technology space. You need exposure, right? And that's the biggest thing that you're going to need as a personality. If we're going to just keep it simple here, because like I said, your systems are going to evolve as you grow and as you do what you do, as you learn what you need to do and learn how to walk, crawl, run, jump, and fly, you're going to evolve. But I would say the main two things that you need are attention, the distribution channel, right? And you need a piece of tech that's going to capture some of the revenue from that, right? Now, if you're going to capture the revenue from being a personality, there's lots of different routes that you could go, right? You could be gathering attention on some piece of social media, and the question will be, where does that attention go? Where does that attention go next? When Shopify buys Joe Rogan's podcast, what they're saying is you've got the attention. Your show has the attention. Where we want that attention to go is into Spotify. We want people to pay for premium Spotify services. We want people to come and listen to the advertisements that Spotify puts on the platform. That is where the conversion is, right? Joe Rogan just happens to be so huge that his distribution channel is the same thing that captures the money for him. You are not at that place. We're talking about new entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs. So you're at the place that you're at, you're going to need something different from the distribution channel. YouTube is not paying me right now, right? YouTube wants me to be a major YouTuber. The top YouTubers get paid. And even the ones who are in their partner program don't get paid a lot of money until they are larger YouTubers, right? So your distribution channel is going to need to be different from the way you capture money. And here are some typical ways that personalities capture money. Things like Patreon, right? If you've ever been on YouTube for longer than an hour at a time, you know someone who's got a Patreon account. You could use a Patreon to essentially go and buy people coffee, buy extended access to their content, buy exclusive content that you would never get, right? These certain things is what Patreon offers. You could also get into affiliate marketing, right? And through affiliate marketing, the tech that I'm speaking on specifically are things like ClickBank, things like ClickJunction. These different affiliate marketing websites will allow you to get access to multiple brands, and these multiple brands, once you sign up, will look at the content that you put out and say, okay, they could be an affiliate for us, and if only someone clicks on our link and buys something, we will give them a piece of the money. And so the name of the game when it comes to a personality is how many eyeballs do you have and how engaged can you keep them? Because the eyeballs and the engagement adds up to clicks on your site or clicks that you happen to refer, right? And so these will be the main two things that you need, the main two pieces of tech that you need as a personality. There are ways that we can go farther, right? But I think we're going to keep it here, keep it simple, and we'll revisit some of these things a little bit later, right? Let's talk about the next group, the skill worker, right? The skilled worker would be things like a designer, a graphic designer. You know, there's interior designers, there's graphic designers, there is coders like myself. There are designers, graphics, coders. Let me see what I got here. Photographers. Photographers is another great one. You know, anyone who has a skill, something that they had to spend some time learning, right? It's not something that everybody's doing, but it takes a little bit of time to get skilled up in it, and people pay a higher price than they would for someone to take out their garbage or to cut a yard or something of that nature. These people, they also need a traffic source, but that traffic source is a little bit of it's of a bit less value than it would be for a media personality. If the media personality doesn't have a way of disseminating their information, their business is dead. Their business model is essentially flat, and they're going nowhere. There's no way for them to survive without that distribution channel. But skilled laborers, right? These skill workers, right? They can work without that sort of distribution channel. If you have a photography business and you start shooting at your friend's wedding, it's entirely possible that even without having any social media accounts, any social media following, you know, you're not in any newspapers, you know, nobody's talking about you. Even your grandma has zero words to say about you. You can be at a gig shooting some weddings, and literally a person walks up to you and says, "Hey, I've got a wedding for my cousin next week. I would love for you to come out and do some shots," right? So the tech is a bit different, right? It's going to be a different sort of ball game for a skilled laborer, but it's not as if they are mutually exclusive. It's not as if the tech that they're going to be using is mutually exclusive. YouTube, the distribution channels, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Spotify, these things could help the skilled laborer for sure, 100%, but it's not required. What is required though? What is required for the skilled laborer? If you have an advanced skill and you want to make money using it, what exactly is it that you are going to need? What you're going to need is the ability to take in revenue. And let's assume that you are this photographer and you are out on a gig and someone says, "All right, you did a great job today. I don't have any cash on me. So just go ahead and send me the invoice." And you're like, okay. And so you just write a piece of paper, you just go home, you type up, I took 5 pictures of you and they look amazing. Send, right? In that case, you're going to have sent them a piece of paper and they're going to say, "Well, I actually prefer using my credit card. What are we doing here?" And you'd be like, again, this should be your second you need to have a way of collecting credit cards. And so there are different ways that you could go about it. If you're on different sites like Upwork, which is like a skilled laborer's workplace, it's like a Fiverr, except with, you know, a bit higher standard of quality. Things like Fiverr and Upwork, if you are on these sites, then you can essentially be paid directly through them, right? This is a piece of tech that's vital, but you could also go a different route. I personally use a software called Andco, AND.co, right? And in Andco, you essentially can take your business, you can take whatever freelancing you're doing and use that work to create contracts, proposals, take credit cards, right? You could go this route and they would help you put together the things that you need, right? And they would allow you to take credit cards, which was really, you know, impossible. It's impossible without having some piece of technology. You've got to have something. You need some piece of tech in order to capture this money. And the capturing of the value is most of what the skilled laborer needs, right? So we talked about Fiverr, we talked about Upwork, and a quick note before I go on beyond them is even though Fiverr and Upwork do a little bit more than just, you know, create your contracts for you and take money, and even though they're a bit like marketplaces who have their own fees and their own terms of service and whatnot, there's a bit more headache in going this route, but at the same time they are to some extent they are a discovery source. They are a dissemination form, right? They do a bit, might be a small bit, but they do a bit of networking for you. If you check out my Upwork page, I'm on Upwork, Lamar Woods. You can check me out there. If you check me out there, you could decide, hey, this Lamar guy has got some great projects. I would like to spend money with him. But a route that I prefer to go with most of my clients is I use Anco because they help me with contracts, they help me with taking money, and I just have to pay Anco once. Whereas Fiverr and Upwork, they're gonna want cash, right? They're gonna want a piece of your transaction because they make it simpler for the customer to come to them, right? And they could have found you through there. So we've got these two pieces of technology. I'm gonna go even deeper. And so as you could see, I've stepped from it helps you with a lot of different things to it helps you with some specific things. And this one is going to get even more specific, even more. As a skilled laborer, let's assume that you already have enough clients. You don't need to be discovered at all. So you're just going to go ahead and skip the Upwork and you're going to skip the Fiverr, right? Let's assume that you already have tons of contracts. Your cousin is a lawyer, right? And she will write up a contract for any single gig you get. Any single job that you might come into, she will write you the contracts and think about all the legalese and manage the communication between you and the client. So you don't need anything like an ANCO, right? The next thing, if you're going to get even more specific than that, you just really need to take the money, right? What is a platform that you can just go to and be able to get the monies, right? That piece of software, the one I'm going to recommend, is Stripe. People have heard Stripe, but most people don't know actually what Stripe does. They just help with payment processing. They just help with payments in general. You can go onto Stripe, create an account, and Stripe will give you a web page. You don't even have to have a website. They will make up a site for you so that people can come and spend some amount of money with you. Stripe is very, very focused on what they do. They essentially just help you get the money. And if you don't need any of this other stuff that I talked about earlier, you could go on Stripe, create your account, and start taking payments today. It doesn't matter whether you're selling Beanie Babies, you're drinking people's water for them as a service, or you are coming by and cutting their yards. You can go on Stripe and start collecting cash today. All right, so with that, we've talked about the personality, what they need at the highest extent, the core of what they need. We talked about the skilled laborer, what they could use, right? And then the last thing I'm going to get into before I start getting into some generalities here is the laborer, right? The laborer is someone who's like a cook or a landscaper. You cut grass. You are a plumber. You are a painter. You do something. You do something that it's not exactly skilled labor, but it's labor and is labor essentially. What you need is just the ability to take cash, right? You essentially you essentially need to be able to capitalize on the money, right? And so the very last solution that I talked to you about, which is Stripe. Stripe would be a very beneficial piece of software for you. And if you are more than just a plumber, right? You want to start a plumbing business. Then something like an AMCO would be great so that you can have contracts around the things that you're doing, right? And I'm sure that there are marketplaces out there like a Fiverr and an Upwork that would help you as well, sort of in that journey. And so what is the difference between the unskilled labor and the skilled labor? The difference is the need for exposure, right? Both of them need attention. You need a good flow of customers coming in order to really blow out your sales. In order to really survive as a business, you constantly need people coming in and looking at what you do. But when people look at what you do as a laborer, what you look like does not have to be as shiny as the skilled laborer. So let's say that the skilled laborer has collected money. You know, they've got whatever system or whatever tech they want to use to collect money. Are they going to be, let's say that a skilled laborer has those things, are they as reputable as a laborer is if they only have that thing? Probably not. Probably not. The difference is that the skilled laborer has to look better. It's called skilled labor because you are skilled. And in order to lock down a contract with your customer, you need to look skilled when they think about who you are. So, whereas the personality could have maybe gotten started without having something like a website or a massive portfolio, it's not the same. It's not the same for a skilled laborer. So the skilled laborer at this point needs a website to display who they are, who their brand is, right? And to talk about their services, because your customers will want to come in and peruse. They're going to want to peruse before they buy. So the difference between the two, between skilled and unskilled labor, is you don't need to look as good. The need for anything other than taking money is not really there. People might hear about you as a plumber. They might ask questions about you. But beyond that, that's really it. And most people don't even do that. They just want to know, how many years have you been a plumber? Show me the truck that you pull up in. Oh, that looks like a plumber's truck. I'll let him in my house, right? Tell me about toilets. Okay, I get it. I trust you. That's it. So they really probably need the least. Whereas you go up the stack, you'll need more. Because the skilled laborer needs to have a portfolio. They need to look professional and shiny when someone looks at them. And if you're a media personality, it could add value. Looking shiny is essentially all you do. All you do is look good to people. So the most important things that you're going to need is, of course, the disseminator, the distribution channel, and you're going to need a way of making money. But to increase your shininess, I would also recommend a website for you. So now that we've talked about this, now that we've talked about the differences of these three groups, let's talk about some generalities. Even though we've talked about what people need at the core, it could also be said that some of the things that one person has could be used all around the board. Just like how I said, the skilled laborer could use a website for sure, needs one. And the media personality could have one, but definitely should have one. All of them really could use a website. All of them could use a portfolio that shows people, hey, this is the level of quality I have. This is the level of service that I have. Being shiny is not as important for a unskilled laborer, but if you want a lot of clients, if you want clients blown out, you want to have a team of 100 people working for you, you better believe you're gonna need your brand to be up there. It's gonna need to be shiny. It's gonna need to look good, and people are gonna need to see some of the work that you've done. So if we're gonna go general here and talk about some things that would be great for every business to have, let's talk about websites first. A general website that you would need, you could get from WordPress, you could get from Wix, you could get from Squarespace. Webflow is my favorite as of right now, but it's a bit more complicated. Just get on one of these websites, create yourself a page. You don't need to, when you are just trying to figure out who you are, you might not need someone to actually build it for you. But as soon as you start trying to figure out, okay, well, how do I actually look good? Not just show up, but how do I actually look good? Then that's where you probably want to bring someone like me on. You can reach on out, www.woods&tech.com, and we will get you set up. We'll get your tech put together for you. But essentially, you're going to need a website. Every single business out there could use a website. It's just for different groups of folks, the need is higher and lower, right? Now that we're already at the website level, though, let's assume that you've already bought into the fact that you should probably have a website. Every website needs to be gathering attention and holding on to it long term. How do you hold on to attention that just flew, looked at your website and left? You hold on to it with an email list. Every business that is online should have an email list, 100%. I can't think of any business that shouldn't have it. And you should be collecting emails so that you can reach out to your potential customers on a regular basis and turn them from maybes into let's have a conversation, or turn them from maybes into yeses, right? Use an email list. Every single business that's online should have one. And even if you aren't online, you should have a book of people who you've at least talked to, right? At least had a conversation with, and you can reach out to them regularly. Not the same as an email list, but useful for sure. So the mail list service that I use, there's tons of them. There's Constant Contact, there's Mad Mimi, but I use personally MailChimp. I love MailChimp. It works just fine for me. So you can use a MailChimp to essentially collect emails on your website and use those emails to turn the 100 people who are going to come to your website and spend nothing into an ongoing conversation that gets 5, 10. If you're the Jesus of digital marketing, then 20. 20% of those people to say, okay, not only have I looked at you, but I want to spend money with you, right? These are the pieces of technology that I would put into the starter kit for any new or aspiring entrepreneur. Check these out. Look at your industry. Look at exactly what category you fall into, and make sure that you have a strategy around each of these things. If you would like help on that strategy, then go ahead and reach out to me at woods&tech.com. Head to the book a call page, and we can set up a conversation 100% free, and we'll talk about exactly what you should have in your business as you're getting started. All right, guys, it's Lamar Woods with the Biz Dev Show. Everyone have a great weekend. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.